Good night, everyone. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe, and I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration-related questions. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments so that I may answer your questions. I want to formally introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. I'm U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I help clients to get their status and their permanent residence in the United States. I also come here every night at 9 p.m. to answer your immigration-related questions. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments so that I may answer. So you can also go to the link in my bio. That will take you to the website if you want to learn more about me, what I do as a U.S. immigration attorney, and how I can help you. You can also get in touch with the firm by calling the number or filling out a contact form. So Charity Salvi, thanks for your question. So I filed for my husband. I'm a U.S. resident. He has a removal order and court. So in this case, it is definitely a more complex situation, and you are going to want to schedule a consultation because if he's already in deportation, then he had a case before filing with his ex-wife. And so, yes, so you're definitely going to want to do a consultation. In some cases, the situation can be fixed, but it really depends on the facts of the case, Shorty Salvi. And this is something that I can tell you there may be solutions. However, I would not be able to advise you personally on what to do, especially since deportation cases are way more complex and they definitely have different moving parts. Sometimes there is a way to put your case on hold while it is pending at the USCIS, but you still have to go before the court and request that the court does that, and it really depends on the facts and what's going on. It depends on do you have a petition that has already been approved? So all of these questions will need to be answered. I highly recommend you schedule a consultation as soon as possible because you want to have a strategy in place before you actually start proceedings, before you get, so that it you can request you can request some sort of relief from the judge. And in some cases, you could even work with the opposing counsel, the government attorney, to come up with a solution. So give me a call. You can call 561-405-4889, schedule a consultation, and let us talk about it. Keep your questions coming. I'm here to answer your immigration-related questions. So put those questions in the comments. So far, I've received a question here, and thank you for your question. And I want more of them because these are the types of questions that I'm here to answer. Hi there, Sexy Annie. It's nice to see you. So go ahead and put those questions in the comments so I may answer those questions. Now, I come with a topic to talk about, and I am going to talk about the adjustment of status application process. So what does that involve? So with the adjustment of status, you have to be very careful with this process. Just because when you're dealing with this process, not everyone who qualifies for a permanent residence through an employer or through a relative is going to qualify for adjustment of status. And that is where I like to make sure that I inform you about how you know whether you can qualify for the adjustment of status process. And the adjustment of status process is basically applying for the permanent residence in the United States. So if you are in the United States, you would like to stay to complete your process, can you? That's the question. Now, the first is, how do I report someone who run off to America? Well, I don't usually advise on, how to report immigrants. That is not where I stand. That's not my job. My job is to advise immigrants on how they can do it right, how they can find solutions to their issues. So I wouldn't be able to help you with that. So let us talk about, if you are here and you would like to stay here and apply for your permanent residence, how can you do that? The first is, can you maintain your status for the duration of the time that it's going to take to get permanent residence? So for example, if this process is going to take a few years, so if it's going to take, say 5 years, is it possible for you to have a type of status that would allow you to stay in the United States for the duration of that process, those 5 years? For example, if you had a certain type of employment-based visa, or you were able to extend your employment-based or temporary visa to cover those years, then at that point you could adjust status in the United States, because you would maintain status and you would just be going from one status to the other when you get permanent residence. For example, with employment-based, that is usually what happens when there's an H-1B visa beneficiary, and then the same employer or maybe even another employer wants to apply for them to adjust status. Then they can do that over the years, as long as they can maintain that status while they're going through the process. And so that's one. However, I know that many individuals are interested in, what if you can't maintain your status? How can you go from not having your status to permanent residence, all while staying in the United States? And that is going to really depend on you really do have to qualify, and only certain individuals qualify if you're out of status and you want to stay here and apply. And those are going to be usually immediate relatives of US citizens, VAWA applicants, and if you have a T or U visa, but you were previously without your status, you can adjust status, but you'd still have to apply for a waiver, more than likely, to help with any inadmissibility issues that you would be facing. So how to get from a contract with a recruitment agency prior to completing the immigration process. So also, I don't usually deal with placing individuals in jobs. I only deal with once you've had the job, or once the employer decides to sponsor. I deal with the filing aspect of it, but I don't deal with job placements or linking immigrants with recruiters or agencies. So that is something you would definitely have to you could try to consult another attorney that maybe provides such services, where they include those services, or you would have to look, and it really depends on what industry you're in. So keep those questions coming. I'm here to answer your immigration related questions. I'm talking about adjusting status in the United States. How do you do that? So there's one where, if you can maintain your status for the duration of the time that you're in the United States, then it is possible to go adjust status. However, I know that many individuals are interested in, what if you can't maintain your status in the United States? How can you then go from being out of status to getting your permanent residence through adjustment of status? I married my husband back in the Dominican Republic and came back pregnant. Is there any way to get, and I'm sorry, that get him here faster? So it could be a possibility. It really depends on your particular circumstances. Now, being pregnant alone may not necessarily be enough to expedite the case. They call it expedite. However, if you are in a situation where you need support, and I hope that's not the case, but you do have situations where there are complications. This is a high-risk pregnancy, and it's necessary for the spouse to be in the United States during the pregnancy. And in a case like that, you could definitely request expediting the case. Now, it's not to say that you should never request an expedite, because you can still request they expedite the case. However, I just want to let you know that, you know, when it comes to asking to expedite a case, never hurts to try, but they do want evidence. You can show evidence of the pregnancy, of course. And it usually, though, has to be some sort of emergency or compelling situation that would convince them that, yes, there is a need for your spouse to be here faster. So it doesn't hurt to try. And you can definitely consult with me if that is something that you would like to look further into. So keep those questions coming. And so far, these have all been great questions. And I just want to let you know there is no such thing as a dumb question here. All questions, immigration related questions, are welcomed. So, Macy, so I'm currently attached to a recruitment agency. However, I no longer wish to go through the process. Okay. So in a case like that, you definitely need to consult to determine what other options you have. Because if you did receive your visa or your immigration benefits through this recruitment agency, or they're the ones that are responsible for you right now in your paperwork, then you definitely want to consult with an attorney to determine what your rights are in the process, what your options are. You can definitely schedule a consultation. You can go to the link in my bio. It's going to take you to the website where you can call the number, or you can fill out a contact form and get on my schedule, and let's talk more about what your situation is, and so the immigration process. So that's where you definitely have to just get a consultation to figure out your options, because if you haven't started, we would want to know, I would want to know the facts, want to know where you stand, what you qualify for, what is this, what position do you have, or what position are they looking for you. And so there are a number of facts that I would have to talk to you about, Macy. So go ahead and schedule a consultation. Keep those questions coming, because I'm here to answer your questions. I am going to be here until 9:30, and then I am going to head on over to Instagram. So I'm just telling you that from now. So when I tell you that I'm heading out, you should know that this conversation does not have to end here. You can hop on over to Instagram and we can continue this conversation. You're welcome, Macy, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you to talk about your possible options going forward. So go ahead and just keep putting your questions in until I have to hop over. But once I have to head over to Instagram, you can just hop on over with me. There's the button, the link in my bio with the Instagram button. All you have to do is click on it to go over to Instagram and start following me, and then hop on with me on the live to continue asking your questions. Now, another thing I want you to know is that there are no limits on your questions. You can ask me as many questions as you like, and I will work to get to each of your questions as long as I have the time to do that. So feel comfortable to put anything that's immigration related in the comments right now. I'm talking about the adjustment of status process. That's basically where you apply for your permanent residence while staying in the United States. Now, not everyone who qualifies for permanent residence is going to qualify for adjustment of status. That's very important to know, because it will help you to avoid filing an adjustment of status application when you don't qualify, when you could have been focusing on another option that would work for you. So right now, if you can maintain your status in the United States, meaning you came here on a visa, you came here more likely on a visa that will last for years, and then you now qualify for permanent residence. As long as you can maintain the status for the duration of the time that the process will pending, you can adjust status in the United States. So that is one. And remember, adjustment of status can be done through an employer, and it can be done through family, as well as if you have a T, a U, or even asylum. Now, if you, and also if you have a diversity lottery, if you've been selected for the diversity lottery and you have a valid status in the United States, it's also an option. Now, diversity lottery is basically the lottery for the green card. Every year, the Department of State opens it up and you go and sign up. And if your number is selected over the next year, you have a chance of being selected to attend the interview or go through adjustment of status. Adjustment of status for diversity lottery candidates is not very common, but it does happen as long as you can maintain your status here. Also, just to let you know that only certain individuals from certain countries qualify, but it is worth checking if your country qualifies for this. Because why I say that too, just as a side note, is that if you don't have any employer, no relatives, no links to the United States, then if your country qualifies for the diversity lottery, this could be an avenue for you to get to the United States. Of course, a little bit of luck does play into it, but it is an option to get to the United States even if you're not married or you don't have any other links to the United States. Such as, because the number one question I get is, how can I get permanent residence without marriage? Here is one way. Employment is another. However, employment does depend on your qualifications and whether you have an employer. Cookies Scream, go ahead and put your question in. You don't even have to ask a question. You can just go ahead and put your question in the comments and I will answer as long as it's immigration related. Now, I want to tell you that I am here until 9:30, but I'll be hopping over to Instagram just because, just like here, I have a pre-scheduled live. But here's an advantage. You can hop on over with me and continue the conversation. So it doesn't have to end here. Also keep in mind, I will be here tomorrow night and the night after and the night after and the night after. So I'll always be here to answer your questions, your immigration questions at 9 p.m. tonight. In the meantime, I'm still here. So keep putting your great questions in the comments because that is why I'm here. I'm mainly here to answer your questions. Your questions are my priority. And I want to make sure that you get the answers to some of your questions. Now, if you are listening, can my U.S. resident parent file for me in the country? So if you are out of status, your resident parent can file for you, right? But if you're out of status and you've been out of status for more than 6 months, you are going to have to go through the waiver process. Actually, once you are out of status, you're going to have to go through the waiver process unless you qualify for an exception. So those exceptions are going to be, are you the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen? In this case, you've already said that your parent is a U.S. resident, and that's not that parent would not be a U.S. citizen. The next is if you are a VAWA candidate. In the case that if your parent is mistreating you or abusing you and you're under 24, you're under 25, you could still possibly apply for permanent residence based on the mistreatment. So that is another way, another option. However, if you don't fall within those categories, which you don't fall under the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen, I'm not sure if VAWA applies here, but if it doesn't, then you would need to apply for a waiver. That waiver, to qualify for the waiver, you'll have to have a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse or parent. In this case, you have a U.S. resident parent. However, you do have to show that that U.S. parent will experience extreme hardship if you don't get the green card. And what that means is that, does this U.S. resident parent, will they face devastating consequences in their own life if you don't get the green card? What will happen to them? What bad is going to happen to them? And if you can answer that question, if you have a clear picture of what the bad things that can happen to them, what bad things will happen to them, then you may very well qualify for this. And that is where you need to get a legal consultation to talk more about your facts and how to approach it. So that is the way. If you're out of status and you don't qualify for adjustment of status through VAWA, through adjustment of status, then you would need to determine whether you qualify for the waiver. Now, once you do know you qualify for the waiver, you would have to, your resident parent would apply for you, would petition for you. Once the petition is approved, then we go through preparing this waiver application. This waiver application would then be submitted, and you could wait in the US. So you could wait in the US while the petition is pending, wait in the US while you are, the waiver is pending. And if you do get a decision on it, then you could, and it's an approval. So if you do get a decision and it's an approval, then you could go to the home country. Once your interview is scheduled in your home country, you could go to the interview at the home, in your home country, when the time is when that you can buy the ticket and go to the interview. You don't have to go to the country way in advance. Once you get there, you do the interview. The officer will not use your out of status, you being out of status against you. That 3 or 10-year bar will not apply to you. Because remember that once you overstay over 180 days, then you're barred for 3 years if you ever leave the U.S. If you leave, if you overstay over a year, that turns into a 10-year bar. The waiver prevents that from happening. So it basically allows you, gives you a clean slate and allows you not to have that on your record, so you can come back with an approved immigrant visa. But one thing you have to be cautious about is that when you're applying for the unlawful presence waiver in the United States, the I-601A waiver they call it, you cannot have any other immigration violation. So you can't have misrepresentation or fraud. You can't have any other issues going on that will render you inadmissible, because this waiver only forgives the overstay, the unlawful presence. It doesn't forgive any misrepresentation or any criminal conduct that renders you inadmissible. So there, in a whole nutshell, I gave you all the information about the waiver process. And usually the waiver process happens if you don't qualify for adjustment of status through an immediate relative, as the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen, or through VAWA, or through the TU visa or asylum. If you don't qualify for adjustment of status, this is an alternative solution. And for some individuals, this is their only option. And so it's important for you to know about this option, the waiver option. So cookies and cream, if you would like to schedule a consultation and talk more about your options, let us go ahead and do that, because it may be your only option. It may be the best option for you. However, I never like to tell people that they don't have any hope through their life, because there may be facts in your situation that do present solutions for you. And so schedule a consultation. You can do that by calling 561-405-4889, or you can also go to the link in my bio, go to the website. You will see a contact form, and you will see the phone number. There is a scheduling coordinator who can, and I would love to schedule a call. I'm still in status. I can't stress enough how important it is now that you are in status to get a consultation, cookies and cream, or cookies cream, because at this point you're at I like to say you're at a crossroads where you need to make a decision. You're in status and you could go either way. Some individuals, they have the consultation with me where they've already made the decision to stay, and now the waiver process is their only option. And so it's so important for you to schedule a consultation before you do anything, to fully understand what options you can pursue. Now, I also want to mention that if you are in status, it also depends, because you may be in status now, but the important thing is, can you maintain that status for the years? Because remember, a U.S. resident parent, is taking about 5 to 6 years for a U.S. resident parent to file for their son or daughter who's over 21 and unmarried. And keep in mind, you must be unmarried. And so if you're over 21, can you maintain the status that you have for those years? Because if you can't, then you have to make that decision. Are you gonna, is it something that you want to face with overstaying and then facing the waiver process, or do you want to wait this out in your country where it may be a more direct, less complicated, and less scary process? Because people, you know, when they overstay, they're very afraid to leave, even though I can tell you the waiver process is safe. And by the point we do get an approval and then you're ready to go, I have your back as the attorney, and I basically make sure that you are good to go. So let me see. So it is 9:30. I am going to hop on over to Instagram now. So you can hop on over with me. This conversation does not have to end here. And Cookies Cream, go ahead and schedule that consultation. Or you can also hop on over to Instagram. So I talked about the adjustment of status as long as I could tonight. Tomorrow, of course, I'll come with another important topic. But I also want you to come with your questions, because your questions are important. Thanks so much for your questions tonight. I'll either see you on Instagram right now. You can click on the link in my bio. You'll see the Instagram button. Hit that and it'll take you straight to Instagram. Or I'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern time, where we can have this conversation again. And I'm here to answer your immigration related questions. Have a good night, everyone.